You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. We are here today to bring our thoughts and opinions on the up-and-coming game on Saturday against Wolverhampton Wanderers. As everyone already knows, they have been obviously confirmed as relegated, but they are no means going down without a fight. As I'm sure the two people that are going to join me today will adhere to that. We are joined by Kev and we are joined by Robin. Robin, how are we doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Looking forward to the weekend and hopefully banishing the ghosts of last Friday.
Indeed. And Kev, how are you today?
Yeah, all good. Similar sort of feeling to Robin, to be honest. I think we need to use this match as a bounce back. Obviously after, Friday's brutal defeat, let's not give up hope, I suppose. And yeah, Wolves is probably a good place to kind of reset yourself. I agree with what you said. I do think Wolves have got a little bit of fight in them. I think they want to give their fans something, albeit it's a bit late now. But yeah, they still seem to be trying to give their fans something to be happy about.
Yeah, spot on. Let's just jump straight into it then in regards to Wolves. Obviously, their last game they played Spurs and were narrowly beaten 1-0. But to me, personally speaking, I don't know if any of you guys watched it. Wolves looked the better team in that game against Spurs and then just got unlucky by conceding that goal. But they're trying to prove a point on that, as I think was said in the group chat altogether. They want to effectively finish above Burnley to go, we're not the bottom of the league, you are.
It's one of those, isn't it? You've got to kind of, well, they've got to try and do something because they've sat at the bottom of the table since the very, very start. And obviously, Burnley have got Leeds this weekend. I say this weekend, I think they play tomorrow night. But for me, obviously, that's kind of the bottom of the table clash that should have been. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. If Burnley can get a result against Leeds, obviously that's going to then make them even harder to reach for Wolves. But Wolves are now only 3 points behind Burnley. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting place to be at the bottom, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's one of those things. Obviously, I think Rob Edwards has come in. I think they're now building for next season. Obviously, they're going to lose players, but there's going to be players that stay, and I think they're trying to get a bit of a feel-good factor for next season.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. I can't remember which journalist it was that said it. I think it was something on Sky Sports saying, in regards to Wolves, yes, they're down and out, so to speak. And it's touching on what you just said there. You want to go down, but if you go down, you want to go down on a high. So when you then roll on to the next season, you can then go, right, this is what we want to achieve. Guys, we finished the season on a high of winning however X amount of games. Let's kick on and start a winning perspective. I'm going to use for a similar example of that was Watford. When Watford first went down, they had the mentality because they went down on a winning streak. We can do this, and we all know that Watford then didn't come back up. But that was their mentality, wasn't it? Really, to try and go up to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult one because you're going to have a completely different looking squad next season.
Yeah.
And obviously, you saw with us, 9 years ago, whatever it was, back-to-back relegations. You saw 2 years ago, or a year ago, Luton back-to-back relegations. Obviously, this year, you've seen Leicester back-to-back relegations. And because of the difference now in the levels and with you've got players in that Wolves squad and obviously in the Burnley squad and, in either as it is now, a five-way battle at the bottom between Tottenham, West Ham, Forest, Leeds, and the visitors, according to Sky Sports,
Yeah.
you know, if whichever of those teams join Wolves and Burnley, there's going to be, a sale. It's going to be like wildfire, players wanting out the door. So you can never tell. I mean, look, you saw what happened to us when we went down. Yeah, we didn't get rid of everybody. There was people that just didn't turn up, and the ones that did stay just weren't interested, and they thought they were too good for it. So it's a real difficult situation to be in, and how things are going to be.
Yeah.
Like you say, I mean, Leicester back to back again. Ipswich and Southampton. I mean, yeah, Ipswich sitting currently second place in the Championship, but Southampton's in the playoffs. It's still Ipswich aren't guaranteed promotion, and it could be a case of only one of them might get promoted back up straight away. It could be a case of if they don't win on Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is, a Millwall or Borough win and take the second place, there's no guarantee that one of them's going to go up via the playoffs, and you could have it that none of the teams that got relegated have gone back up for probably the first time in a long time.
It'll be like similar this way. We'll get Kev's thoughts on it. It'll be similar to like Sheffield United, won't it? Sheffield United got relegated. Thought they were going to absolutely storm the league. Obviously, yes, they did finish above us, but ultimately came to the playoff final. We won, and then this season, before obviously they started changing the fortunes, they were struggling a lot, weren't they?
I think that's sometimes the challenge, though, isn't it? When you get knocked back like they did in the final, it can set you back, and obviously they then lost a few key players in their opinion. And yeah, obviously there's no mathematical chance of them getting anywhere near the playoffs for Sheffield. So, for me, it's one of those. They're going to spend a couple of years now probably rebuilding. And to be honest with you, I'm glad we got out when we did, because that championship is going to get more and more competitive with the teams that are in and amongst it now. I mean, I was watching something the other night, and they were saying that at the moment there's three teams that are separated by a point.
Yeah.
And it's, Ipswich in second, Millwall third, Borough fourth, Southampton fifth. And then Wrexham have obviously got their way in there through buying everyone and anyone they can get their hands on, with Hull City and Derby still also in the mix to get into the playoffs. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where, Coventry obviously got their punishment against us.
Yeah.
And then they brought a couple of players in, and they've done really, really well. I mean, I know we're talking about championship here, but obviously that's one.
Yeah.
But for me, this is probably, like I said a minute ago, Wolves' chance to see those players that are probably not going to stay, give their fans something to enjoy. Because that's probably the hardest thing, is when you're destined for the drop, it's keeping the fans coming in, because they've still got to earn some money in the ground to keep the lights on, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, on the flip side of that, Kev, obviously, I know what you're saying about that, but the players that are going to leave, they've not really shown it enough all season that are going to make people want to come in and spend a lot of money on them. So why, to me, doesn't Rob Edwards start planning for next season and maybe give some of the youngsters a chance with a bit of fire in them? Maybe give some of those fringe players that will still be there next year, and maybe their ticket out of the Championship back up. Why not give them an opportunity to impress and try and get the team spirit going already with them sort of players? I mean, look, obviously they don't want to finish bottom. They're 3 points behind Burnley, and yeah, would I like to see Wolves finish above Burnley? Probably. Obviously my feeling towards Burnley have changed today, because obviously Scott punched the face Parker has left. So obviously, I don't have to see him again, But yeah, it's one of them things. No one wants to finish bottom. Have Wolves got enough fight in them to win a few games? Possibly. Do I want it to happen this week? Certainly not.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
gonna.
it. I mean, I think he has started playing some of the youngest kids to give them those chances. And I
Mhm.
think in the last window, they kind of knew this was coming. So they started bringing in players ready for the drop. Because obviously they brought in Adam Armstrong,
Yeah,
from Southampton. So I think they prepared themselves for needing a striker when they lost. Was it Strand Larson went to
Yeah,
Palace?
you're good,
yeah.
Strand Larson. Yeah,
I think that is a clear indication of what they were planning. When Strand Larson left, it was right. We need a championship striker. Armstrong was the right fit. Players that I think they'll go, the likes of Jose Sarr, their goalkeeper. I can't see him wanting to drop down.
Yeah.
The two Buenos, I think they'll both depart. Lima, Andre.
Mane.
I mean, yeah, you could probably list most of their squad will want out.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're realistically going to have to. They're going to be in for a rebuild. Let's be honest, and that's what I want us to do this weekend is take this as our chance to rebuild the confidence
Yeah.
because that 5-0 will have knocked roofs. It will have knocked the defenders. Everyone will have been thinking, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We need Wolves to be the reset. We need them to go down there and we need to come and we probably need to leave there with a 3 or 4-0
Mhm.
so that the lads go, right, it was a bump in the road and then we can crack on again.
No, you just hit the nail on the head because that ties me into the Regis presser today. Obviously, he was asked about the Forest game and stuff like that, and I don't forget that I can't remember the journalist who asked him the question. He was like, "Oh, so what? How we feeling after that?" He was like, "Well, it hurts," and like, "Well, it can happen it can happen at home or away." He was like, "Yeah, but you don't understand. That score hurt the team." And I think what he's trying to say is, yes, it happens, but if it happens that bad, and especially at home, it hurts even more. And I think what he's probably done this week is drilled it into the lads, saying, dust it off. Yes, it hurts. Move on. You've got a big game again on Saturday. Reset, focus, and basically take it, as you just said there, Kev, take it to a team like Wolves, get your threes, your 4-0, so you can then go, that 5-0 that we got beat on Friday, we've clawed that goal difference back.
to me, it's more important just to win the game. Yeah, it'd be great to put a
Yeah,
a big score in there, but if we win this game, we still got a shout at Europe.
yeah, of course.
And I obviously Kev said on the last pod that maybe Europe's a step too far with the 2 games a week and stuff like that. But with the ambition of the club and the possible targets for the summer, I think that is the plan. I think this is a must-win game. I think, to be fair, I think we need 10 points out of the last 4 games
Mhm.
to realistically be in with a shout, and we need to get that goal difference up a little bit. I mean, that goal, the score on Friday's really knocked us on the goals scored side and the goal difference, because the other teams are now in pole position. So we do actually have to, finish with more points than them. The only positive if we do miss up or mess it up this late in the season when we had a good opportunity would be if the results down the bottom all go in our favour and the visitors do get relegated, because that would just be hilarious. Um, but look, I mean, it's highly unlikely. It really is highly unlikely. But yeah, I think like I say, we just got to get the confidence back up really and just concentrate on getting that win. That's the main thing. Nothing stupid. Let's just go back to the basics. Concentrate on getting that win.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, mate. That's the big thing that we need to just do. Dust ourselves off and go hammer and tongue out and get out there straight away. Touching further into the presser, obviously we got the good news that Jocelyn Tarby may be fit for the game. Personally speaking, I would say put him on if he is fit, put him on the bench. Don't start him because obviously he has just he did come off a big knock. So obviously his game fitness and his match sharpness won't be fully there, which is good to hear. And the likes of Bertrand Traore, are not he's called him the way Reggie's calls him Berto, because it confused me at first, but then it made sense. And then likes of Angulo will be back the following week as well. So as Reggie's put it, we've went several weeks now with 4 wingers out due to injury. Hearing that they're coming back in this crunch time, to me, that speaks volumes, and we can utilize that going into these last 4 games.
I mean, we need the attacking option because we've looked, severely slow, in build up and transition, and counter attacks. We do need that pace, which we've been missing immensely. And I mean, the thing that worries me, and it is a bit of a worry, and I think there'll be echoes of this going around, the socials and stuff. I mean, I've stayed away from socials this week on purpose. But obviously there was a little bit of it last year when obviously we dropped off at the end. I mean, I know obviously Rajiv said he was, we were in the playoffs and that was not going to change. So we just want to get everyone fit for the playoffs. But obviously, when he was in France, they dropped off after Christmas. We dropped off after Christmas last year. We dropped off after Christmas this year. And it is a sort of question mark over him.
Yeah.
So I think if we finish the season strongly now with, like I say, 10 points out of the 12, I think it might hush a bit of that up. If we, don't get the points, I mean, to me, we've got to finish the season unbeaten, whether it's 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 wins and a draw, 4 wins. I don't think we can afford to lose one. I think we must win at least 2. I think otherwise, them questions are going to be asked again in the summer. I mean, there was rumours last week about, we're looking at someone else, which was obviously squashed a bit, but obviously the club's obviously got contingency plans with everything because people will be looking at Regis as well.
Yep.
So, it could be the case that, we're not looking at replacing him. We're looking at what would happen if he decided to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real tricky situation. I mean, modern day football, it's an absolute minefield. You obviously have to have these things in place. Otherwise, if something does happen, you're on the back foot straight away. I mean, we've seen it a few times this season. I mean, especially at Spurs, where they've sacked a manager and they've not had anyone to replace him. I mean, they've done it twice now.
Yeah.
And look at the state they're in. So, yeah, a bit of forward planning is not a bad thing, but obviously it's going to create questions. So I just want, for Regis's sake and the squad's sake, that we finish the season strongly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I mean, what more can we say? I mean, to be honest with you, it's going to happen this time of year. The rumours start spreading. There's talk yesterday. I know, Robin, you stayed off social, but there was rumours yesterday that Xhaka's being eyed up by Besiktas.
Yeah, I saw that too.
You know what I
Which was
mean?
the strangest thing ever.
I think
Was it
in the
not
in the
Fenerbahce
industry,
earlier this season?
in the industry, they call it silly season. This
Yeah.
is where all the daft stuff starts coming out. Um, the fans, the head loss after the Forest game. The amount of fans that were saying, "Oh, he's lost it. He doesn't know what he's doing. He gets to this point in every season and drops off." Well, do we not think back to this time last year? We were lining up the playoffs. Do you not think he dropped off the performance to rest the lads, change the tactics, try things different? And yet fans all went, no, no, this is just what happens. He gets to this time of the season and gives up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give over. The fans seem to stop turning up at this time of the season, if I remember rightly. Yeah, for me, it's one of those. The rumours will start, the murmurs will happen. Fans, as soon as the season stops and the transfer window opens, the amount of fans that will be expecting us to bring in 10, 15 players at £25 million each because of the window we had when we got promoted.
Yeah.
like you said, Robin, we need to get a couple of results. 100% we do. If anything, just to secure safety a little bit more. The Premier League have just put a tweet out saying where people could potentially still finish with 4 games to go. And technically, mathematically, we can still finish 18th.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to get a point to guarantee not being drawn in by Spurs. But yeah, I just think it's that time of year, isn't it? We all need to sit back and realize how far we've come. Kirill took over, only 5 minutes ago, really, and here we are 5 years later in the Premier League, as good as, damn it, safe. So yeah, I think we
Well,
just we enjoy the next few games, and
It's just that mad thing there, isn't it, Kev? We're still technically in danger of relegation because obviously with the points available, we could still be caught and finish 18th. However, we're still closer to 6th. And if Villa win the Europa League, it's a Champions League spot. So rather than look down at what could happen, if we look up and be positive, I think the Champions League might be a bit too a big of a step for us. However, stranger things have happened.
indeed. I want to get your guys' thoughts on. I want to come to predictions in just in a second. My thoughts, obviously. I'm sorry. I want to gather your guys' thoughts on going into Wolves. Obviously, you want to hit the ground running. You want to punish them effectively so we can also keep these all 3 points. Who's leading the line this weekend? Are we going to stick to Brobby so Brobby can effectively bully his way through the defenders? Are we going to use Isidore for his pace and his power? Are we going to see a Mayenda, who we've not seen for ages? I know, obviously, we can only speculate who we want. What are you guys thinking for that? Obviously, I know the rest of the team kind of speaks for itself. I just want to know, leading the line up top, who we're thinking.
I mean, look, it's going to be Brian Brobby. I think we already know that. I'd love to see Wilson up there. I said that last time. I'd love to see it. I'd actually quite like to see Mayenda on the right, and I'd like to see Talby on the left. They've both got a bit of pace. They're both direct.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Enzo just behind Wilson, to be honest. I say it's probably going to be Brobby, but I'd like to see Enzo behind Wilson. I think, if we could do that. I think obviously Siddiqui and Xhaka are going to be there. Defence is a tricky one. I mean, obviously, you're going to play Robin Ruffs. He is the number one. Elborg did well when he came in for him, but he's not at that level yet. I think he's got the potential. I'd go with Mukiele again. I think he wants to. He's a bit frustrated on Friday night, and we talked about that. I think he really wants to make amends. I think he's going to stick with Ballard and Alderete as well. The one I'd like to see is Dennis come in. I think Dennis deserves a shot.
Okay.
Obviously Hume can play there. I think Ronaldo, as Kev mentioned, wasn't really at it last week. And he was a bit of a weak link, even though we went to a sort of back five. I think the week before he wasn't particularly great either. I think Dennis deserves a chance. Obviously, he's out of contract in the summer as well, so he's probably thinking of, if I really show my talents, I'm either going to get a really good deal, or I'm going to go elsewhere and get a big pay because I'm a free agent and a possibly good deal there. So, he'll be wanting to impress, really. Unfortunately, with his injury record, he's probably one of those that, I know the club I think they've offered him a new deal, but it's probably not at the terms that he wants, because he probably feels that what he's done over the years, he could probably get more elsewhere, especially as a free agent. But I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think he's one of those. It's sort of a bit of a similar situation to the Wolves players that you're playing for the next season. You're playing either for a move somewhere, or you're playing to say, look, I'm good enough to be here still. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think that would work as well with the likes of Mayenda and Wilson. Obviously, they've not had a great deal of game time. So hopefully, you'd think they would show a bit more about them, a bit more urgency, and desire to do well.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows what's going on, in players' minds and stuff when it gets to this stage of the season and agents and things like that. I think it's a really tough situation, but I just feel that, I mean, even though that each game, like I said, is really a sort of must-win game for that European spot, because I think the lads really do want to prove that they're good enough and deserve it. And obviously that creates a bigger squad for next season because you're going to need it.
Yeah. So obviously you're thinking Robbie to start. Kev,
No,
I know.
I think Bobby will start. I'd like Wilson to start, and I'd like Bobby maybe on the bench as an option, only because I'd like to see a bit more pace up top, and obviously Myender, Wilson, and Talby could provide that with Enzo just behind him unlocking the door. I mean, I'd really like to see probably that formation with those players, and maybe Enzo either coming off or switching out to one of the wings and let Rick play in that number 10 spot, because I feel
Yeah.
that's his probably best position.
We'll just have to wait and see. Kev, your thoughts? What about you? Are you thinking likewise similar to Robin? You would rather see Wilson start, but obviously it's the obvious choice of say Robbie.
I think he'll go unchanged. I think
Right.
realistically, he's going to try and say to the lads, that hurt, go and prove it hurt. So I think
Yeah.
you'll not see many changes. You might see Hume dropped if there's an issue, if there's a bit of an injury or a niggle or something like that. But if everyone's fit and there's no injuries from the Forest game,
Yeah.
I can't see there being any changes. I agree with Robin. I think that, maybe some tactical changes, moving players around a little bit would be a shout. But no, I think Regis is very much going to go in with the attitude of, you lost that last game, go and prove that that was a blip.
Yeah. Similar to what he did with Ronaldo, isn't it? Where when Ronaldo got carded, he went, prove to me that you can keep a level head effectively and not get another red card.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is, to me, he changed it slightly and maybe goes with the three at the back, which I'd say maybe Mukiele, Ballard, and Alderete, with Hume. And like I say, I'd like to see Serkin or Ronaldo, it wouldn't really matter, as wing backs. And then maybe just play Xhaka as the one holding midfielder. And if we did play with the wing backs, and three at the back with Xhaka there sitting protecting them, then I think we could go with the option of say Robbie and Wilson up front together, maybe play two up top. And then an Enzo and a Siddiqui sitting in front of Xhaka. I think that's a possibility. I mean, it's weird because we've not done it all season, even though last season we did play two up top. It would be, I think it's a time where you could do something like that. If he's not sure about defence, then maybe say go them three, because Hume can get up the wing and put crosses in and overlap. Obviously, we've seen Ronaldo go forward most of the season, and he gets forward well.
It's going to be interesting to see last four games of the season, tactically see what and how the progression, shall we say, will change and things like that. What I want to do is grab some predictions, put this into the mix, see what you guys think. Kev, can I start with you for your prediction this week, mate?
I would like it to be a 3-0. I genuinely would just want us to go down there, get some goals, and try and, like Robin said, get the goal difference back a little bit healthier. Look, an 8-0 would be lovely because that would put us on cost neutral, but it's not. I can't see it happening. Let's be honest, we've not been renowned for the goal scoring this season. The 2-0s have done us well. But yeah, I would like this one to be a difference. I'd like to go and get 3. I would love it to be the likes of Riggy, Enzo, and dare I say it, Wilson. Come on and get a goal because, like Robin said, that confidence boost would do the lad the world of good. The frustration for them when the Villa game, they score these beautiful goals, they make these key contributions, and they're counted for nothing in the end. But yeah, I'd like to go down there and get 3-0.
It's quite funny because
Robin, yourself, what you can.
Well, I'm just watching Kev say 3-0 and Adam, through gritted teeth, having to agree with him because he nicked his prediction. Yeah, I'm sort of following the same lines. I'd like it to be, 5 or 6 or 7, just to do it. I can't see it happening. I think obviously Wolves will have a little bit about them. I'm probably thinking nearer 3-1, to be honest. I think that, like you say, Wolves are building. They do. Adam Armstrong can be dangerous, and obviously the fact that he's a visitor supporter, he's probably got the bit between his teeth, as they always tend to have when they play us. To try and sort of like, yeah, I've scored against the Mackhams, but we still lost the game. Yeah, I'd say 3-1. I think that's more realistic. I'd love it to be a big score to 0.
Yeah, 100%. You are spot on there, Robin. I was doing that through gritted teeth because Kev did steal my scoreline. I was thinking of the 3-0, and I'll stick with it. I don't get me wrong. I do think if we get an early goal, Wolves will be there for the taking. I think they will possibly not collapse as such, but I do think panic will set into them. We've been down this road before. What's going to happen if we then get a second soon after, or say 5-10 minutes after? They will then probably just fold and be like, what's the point anymore, really? And I think that's going to be one of those things. But no, we'll wait and see what happens on Saturday. I just want to thank everyone for listening in. It does mean a lot wherever you listen. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, other podcasts are available. Let's get that in. Thanks to those that joined me. Kev, thank you.
Yeah, pleasure as always, mate.
Excellent. And a thank you to you, Robin.
No, thanks, Adam, and obviously thanks to Kev as well.
Perfect. I won't thank myself this time. I've already done it once this season. I'm not going to do it again. So as ever, everyone else, we'll see you on the next one.